twice. This is 2 taken once, and this is 2 taken twice. Is everybody comfortable if I do that? Yep. And then what would go here?
3.
Oh, 2 taken twice.
2 taken thrice. Make sense? So what's going to go here?
1's taken 4 times.
1 taken 4 times. 2, 3, 4. Yep. Here is going to be
3 taken once.
3 taken once. Yep. Here is 3 taken twice. And here 3 taken thrice.
3 times. Yep.
It's nice we've got a word for 3 times, isn't it? And here is 3 taken 4 times. All make sense to everybody? Yeah. So in a few minutes, when these guys have finished doing it all, they're going to call us and I'm going to show what the next step in this game is. Is that okay? You're going to be part of this? Excellent. Yes? Yeah. Excellent. Where's Katie?
She's going to give you another bar.
Oh, yes. Very good. And then maybe Sandy wants her to help out too. Do you? It'll take a lot of you. It'll take probably a day for a child to do all of this work. Yes? Does that make sense? Yeah. Good. Understand? At all of the materials, what to do with the constructive triangles, how to do Pythagoras, it's called psychogeometry. It's all written there. So she actually came up with this 1951. So it's quite late, but it's all here. The circle, applications of equivalences, reasoning. It's very beautiful. Okay. The next thing to think about is the history of math. Isn't it odd to have vacuum furniture like this? It's so awful, isn't it? Come and crowd around. We're going to go around the big square out there. Sorry, there's a bit of toing and froing for this session, but come out. We're just going to go out there. I don't know where the other people are. How was your day? Good? Good. Yeah. So, in the beginning, it's not going to be big enough. It might go over. Something missing about 1,200 people. Settle.
And what base?
What's that?
And what base?
Base point 2.
Sorry, people.
This is how we introduce timelines. Hold your fingers here, please. Both of you, one. I'm just going to do an introduction to time through mathematics. Okay, so this is the beginning. This is 15,000 years ago. And you'll see that there is an algebra line. And we talked about this the other day, and a geometry line. What do those two lines mean, geometry and algebra? What was the difference? I called it number.
Measure of the earth is geometry.
Yeah, so that was an experiential, and this was a
Simple.
conceptual. Okay, so this is where you say there is such a thing as a circle. All right, here, this is the idea how we would interact with it on a day-to-day business in our world, because of course the moon isn't a circle, it's approximately a circle. And you know the earth isn't a circle, you know the sun isn't a circle. Approximately they are. Algebra is the pure form, geometry is the applied form. All good? So we're up to 15,000 years ago. 25,000 years ago, it says here, geometric designs are used for the first time. 25,000 years ago they were designing. Now you know that geometry is very strong in Islamic art. Why? Why is it strong? Do you guys know?
Mosques.
Yes, it's in mosques because they don't use the human form for art at all. Only God creates man. God created man in his image. So humans cannot create an image of man. So there's no pictures of people in Islam at all. So what do they do to make things beautiful? They use a whole lot of mosaic and tiling, and that's one of the ways they get beauty is through geometry, okay? And that's a religious statement that they've got. Just thinking about that, images of humans, Maori people do not put photos of themselves on the wall until they have died. When they've died, you can put a photo on the wall because it's like a way of remembering, right? So you would not put a photo of a live. I've got a photo outside my office of me on my door. Remind you what I look like, all that sort of stuff. You wouldn't do that if I was Māori. I only put the photo up after I've died because it's my spirit has gone and now you can put a placeholder. Aboriginals, it's the opposite. you don't show photos of dead people. As soon as somebody dies, you take away all memory of them. Which is quite interesting, hey? Two countries, two islands, side by side, totally different understanding of culture of the face. Islam, different one again.
That's quite interesting because in classrooms, some of the classrooms I've been in, they put photos up of the children up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and then not
It's not
necessarily
right.
asking the culture of the family and all of
No.
that. Can you see as we move through? This is down to 4000 BC. Remember BC or BCE, before Common Era. You can buy these, they're about $45, these charts, and you'll see a lot of them in Cosmic Education. In fact, our world is on it. You can see a lot of information. Not much information here, but as we move forward, a lot more. These pictures, by the way, are called fractals, and you're a very exciting part of mathematics. We're up to here, which is Plato, and I've already talked to you a little bit about Plato and Aristotle. Okay, and you will actually see there's a whole lot of, unfortunately, men all the way through these images. No, it's not unfortunate it's the men, but it's unfortunate that there aren't any women. Remember, Mrs. Pythagoras and Mrs. Voltaire have a lot to offer, but they're not always acknowledged. Can you see that now we're up to BC AD split? What happened around that time, when it went before Common Era to Anno Domini? What happened? Dude's birthday?
No.
Yeah, birth of Jesus means that we all have a common numbering system. So BC is before Common Era. They all had different numbering systems. Now we have a common numbering system. Anno Domini. AD is Anno Domini, which means
Before Christ.
it was before Christ, but now we call it BCE because it isn't just before Christ. All religions use the current numbering system, and so it's not just about Christianity. Can you see there's a whole lot of people? I'm not going to go into these, but there's a magical thing about to happen. What year are we up to? Can you see there? About 1040, 1050?
1080.
1080, so 1066, Battle of Hastings. So England has just been under French rule for a long, long time, and then we have, remember before that it was under the Germanic rule, the Saxons, the Angles, and then it moves into the French rule for a long time. Now they finally got rid of the French, which for them was a good thing because the French saw the English as second-class citizens, even in Rhineheim, okay? But remember the Romans also invaded. Romans came in a long, long time ago, and Londinium was the centre of the Roman Empire for a long time. We've come up, we've moved forward a little bit, but there's something very magical about to happen. I'm going to run out of table, so you guys are going to pull just a little bit. Hey, what's happened here?
Oh.
Who is this dude who has brought together the idea of geometry, the experience in algebra, the mind comes to? Descartes. He was French. Descartes. No, the Descartes. So he was, I think therefore I am, he was y equals, he put the y equals x, and he did all of that. Amazing sort of person. And Newton is just down here as well, and you'll find out a whole lot of them. Mobius strip you might have heard of before, and you've heard of Cavalieri, Sacchieri, Pascal, you might have heard of him. There's a lot of cool ideas that came through in mathematics around this time. Do you know what time that is? Around 1600? Have a good weekend. Around 1600, what's happening around the world? What's this called? Look, there's nothing happening. Bam,
The revolution?
bam, bam, bam. Not a revolution. It's bigger.
Renaissance?
It's the second birth. And this is the wisdom. Remember we had it around the Greeks way back then. Was one sort of bubble, and then there was sort of dark ages, and they mucked around, and then they had this renaissance. They mucked around for about 1,000 years. Okay, but here we are, we're back into it. Now look, these two are merged. This is a very significant time in history, okay? And all the way through to nowadays, what is the latest one there? 2010. The maths is still changing, and in fact, most of what you got taught in maths has been proved wrong for over 100 years, but we're still taught it in maths, okay? These guys are still thinking. There's a whole lot of thinking going on in mathematics. Maths is changing its concept. It's changing fundamentally, and unfortunately, kids don't get access to it because teachers don't know anything about it, and they can't bother reading, research, and keeping up to date. This one is like a non-communicative geometry. This guy in 1994 wrote something about that. Mandelbrot, I don't know if you've heard about Mandelbrot, and he does these fractals. Basically, he invented this sort of image that recurs and recurs and recurs. Maths has changed quite a lot. This is a history of humans. This is a history of human thought, what we thought was important, how we've developed, how we express ourselves, how we communicate our ideas, how we are tolerant of different ways of approaching things. This is what this says. Now, today I've only introduced you to maths. I've got 15 of these. I've got them in
so
art
cool.
and communication and peace and justice and civilization and transport and. Come back in September and I'll help you out with these, all right?
Because did geometry, was that Aristotle that named it?
No.
Because who named geometry? It was...
Oh. The ideas of Aristotle are that you experience the world directly. This is a tomato, because I know it's a tomato, I eat it as a tomato. The ideas of Plato and Socrates are, this is an orange, because the authority tells you it's an orange.
Yeah.
It has this idea of purity and of pure knowledge. Whereas Aristotle says, you're off your trolley.
Yeah.
Come back into the real world. How do we learn things? Do we learn things? Think about that tomato experience. Do we learn things because we're told them? Or do we learn things because we actually experience them? Now, I mentioned that 2 weeks ago, all that tomato oranges, all right? Put that in context of your maths learning in the last week. Can you see what's changed?
Yeah.
Instead of me telling you that the area of a circle is, we found it out through our experiences. Instead of me telling you how to do that logic with the constructive triangles and with the blue material. Who was doing it? Were you doing it? The big blue material?
No, it was Jenny.
Yes. Yeah? No, the big blue material. You asked me about just now.
Oh, that's right. It was Alicia.
You haven't finished it. You read that. It'll sit there. It'll cool to you.
Oh my God.
You'll be lecture thinking, I'm going to go after this lecture. Actually, I'm going to flag this lecture and just going to go. And it'll sit to you, okay? And the way that we learn is, according to Aristotle, through our senses, through our experiences, and making sense of the world by having questions, okay? Fundamental shifts. You are going to be here. And what is your contribution? What are you going to add to the world? And imagine if you said that to a child. Where's your face on here? It isn't here yet. How can you help us understand ourselves and our world more through your contribution, through maths, art, science, language, whatever.